Let's start with something you might not want to hear. In fact, I can almost guarantee that this isn't the video you want to watch. But if you stay, it might just be the one you need. Because today, we're going to talk about something that quietly controls the lives of millions of people without them ever realizing it. It's uncomfortable, it's raw, and it will force you to look at parts of yourself that you've probably spent years trying to avoid. But I promise, if you can face this, something in you will begin to shift. So here it is. Since you were a child, you've been taught to look outward, to search for someone to blame for your pain, to attach a name, a face, a story to your suffering. And yes, for many of us, that name is our mother's. Maybe you've said it out loud, maybe you've whispered it to yourself late at night, or maybe it's just a quiet resentment that lives in the background of your life. But here's the part nobody really talks about. It isn't your mother who holds you back now. It's what your mind did with her. And that's not an attack on you. It's not about blame. It's just a fact, a very uncomfortable one. Because long after your mother has left the room, long after childhood is over, she remains, not as the person she is, but as the image your mind created. An image that lives in your unconscious. An image that continues to shape how you see yourself and how you live. You might have tried to move on. You might have told yourself you've forgiven her. You might have built an entire life that looks independent and successful on the surface. But peace doesn't come when you're still trapped in a war you don't even know you're fighting. And that war, it isn't with your mother anymore. It's with an invisible figure, a shadow that you carry inside. Psychology calls it the mother complex. And no, that's not just another niche term to throw around at dinner parties. It's real. And for many of us, it's an emotional prison with invisible bars. It's that quiet voice in your head that criticizes you before you've even opened your mouth. It's that emptiness that you keep trying to fill with achievements, with relationships, with things. It's the desperate need for approval that leaves you drained and frustrated over and over again. And here's the hardest truth of all. That voice, that emptiness, that need, they're not even yours. They were passed down to you like a family heirloom you never asked for. They are echoes, they are survival patterns, they are marks left on the skin of your soul. So now the question becomes, how do you heal something like this? And this is where most people turn back, because the real work begins where it hurts the most. As long as you continue to see your mother as some all-powerful figure, whether you idolize her or hate her, you aren't seeing her clearly. You're seeing a myth, a projection, an image shaped by unmet needs, unspoken wounds, and years of silence. And that image, not your actual mother, is running your life. Think about it. How many of your decisions are driven by a desire to prove something? How many relationships have broken because you were waiting for someone to finally give you the love you never received? How often do you find yourself unable to say no, unable to set boundaries, because deep down you fear losing approval? Those patterns run deeper than you think. They began in childhood, in moments you might not even remember. A glance that was missing, a hug that never came, a word of comfort that was never spoken. And now, even though you're an adult, there's a part of you that is still that child, a part that is waiting, hoping, longing for something that may never come. Here is the most devastating truth. It's not going to happen anymore. Healing is not about changing your mother. It's not about getting her to finally say the words you needed to hear. It's not about getting her approval now. Healing is about stopping the wait. And that is brutally hard, because we've all been told that forgiveness is the key. That if you can just understand where your mother was coming from, if you can walk in her shoes, you'll find peace. And yes, empathy can help. Compassion can soften the edges. But none of that matters if you don't first do the most essential thing, turn inward and take ownership of your own healing. Because the truth is this, the wound is no longer anyone else's responsibility. It's yours, only yours. And no one is coming to heal it for you. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. How many times have you caught yourself acting like your mother? How many times have you heard her words coming out of your own mouth? How many times have you behaved in ways you swore you never would? That's the trap. Because this complex isn't just emotional, it's behavioral. It shapes your reactions, it guides your choices, and if you don't make it conscious, if you don't bring it into the light, it will continue to repeat itself through you over and over again until someone, you, has the courage to break the cycle. And breaking it hurts because it means killing an illusion. It means giving up the hope that one day what wasn't given will finally be given. It means accepting fully that childhood will not return, that the comfort you didn't receive, you will now have to create for yourself. And that is a terrifying thing, but it is also the most freeing thing you can ever do. Most people think it's weakness, they think it's soft, but it isn't. It's medicine, the only real medicine that works when everything else, therapy, understanding, achievements, has failed. And here's the paradox: to practice it, you need courage, because there's a part of you, deep down, that has learned to despise itself, to blame itself, to demand perfection, to repeat the same punishments that were once imposed on you. That's the cycle. And to break it, you have to start by seeing yourself with new eyes. Emotional re-education isn't just about reading books. It isn't about learning clever phrases or following the latest self-help trends. It's about doing something far harder. It's about noticing when you're treating yourself the way others once treated you. It's about building new responses consciously. It's about knowing deep in your bones that searching for replacement mothers in the world will only keep you trapped. Because here's the truth, and I'll say it as clearly as I can: the world won't give you what you didn't receive. It's not designed for that. But the world will demand things from you. It will judge you. It will ignore you. And in the middle of that chaos, in the middle of that noise, you will have to build yourself. That is where emotional freedom begins. It begins the moment you choose to stop repeating the old pattern. The moment you realize you are no longer 5 years old. You are no longer trapped in that house. You no longer depend on a look of approval or a caress or permission to be yourself. But, and here is the catch, there is still a part of you that doesn't know that yet. There's a part of you that still silently hopes, that still silently begs, and that part is not to blame. But now it's time, it is your responsibility to heal it, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now, because if you wait to feel prepared, you will never begin. Healing does not arrive when everything is calm and safe. It arrives in the middle of the storm. It arrives in the middle of fear and resistance and grief. And when it arrives, it won't feel the way you expect. It won't feel like peace. It won't feel like joy. It will feel like loss, like emptiness, like silence. Because healing also means letting go of a version of yourself that you've known for a long time. It means saying goodbye to the victim role. It means stopping the wait for something that will not come. It means choosing to act instead of waiting to be saved. And yes, it hurts, but staying where you are, that hurts more. So look at yourself, really look. Ask yourself, what part of my suffering still belongs to that inner figure I call mother? And how much longer am I willing to let it control me? Make peace, not with her, with yourself. Because in the end, the most important mother is not the one who raised you. It is the one you choose to become for yourself. And that mother, that version of you, is still waiting to be born. Now that you're here, after daring to look at what most people spend their lives avoiding, let's go even deeper. Because there's one more layer, a darker one, a more hidden one, but one that holds immense power over your life. It's called invisible loyalty. Yes, you heard that right. A loyalty you never consciously chose, but one that binds you all the same. It pulls at you like an invisible thread tied to your soul. And no matter how much you progress, no matter how many books you read, no matter how many therapies you do, if you do not see this clearly, you will keep coming back to the same place over and over again. So what is this invisible loyalty? Your unconscious believes that if you surpass your mother, you betray her. That's how twisted the game is, and don't try to analyze it logically. This is not about reason, it's about emotion. It's about a silent pact you made long ago, or without even knowing it, because you grew up believing your identity was tied to hers, that what she suffered, you must suffer too. That what she feared, you must fear too. That what she couldn't achieve, you must not achieve either. Without realizing it, you made a vow. I will not be better than you, Mom. I will not be freer than you. I will not fully heal unless you do first. That is the prison. And the most dangerous part is that prison feels like love. We're not talking about anger. We're not talking about hatred. We're talking about unconscious fidelity, a loyalty to her pain, her frustration, her limitations. That's why you repeat patterns you don't understand. That's why every time you're about to break through, you sabotage yourself. Because deep inside, a voice whispers, if I am happy and she wasn't, I am betraying her. But here is the truth you must face. Your pain does not honor her. Your stagnation does not save her. Your unhappiness does not repair her. So why do you keep carrying what was never yours to carry? There is a scene that repeats itself in thousands of lives. The grown child who cannot allow themselves to fully live for fear of hurting the feelings of a mother who is no longer there or who never really was. It's as if deep down you are saying, look, Mom, I suffered too. So you are not alone in your sadness. And that is what is slowly killing you, because the real betrayal is not leaving her story behind. The real betrayal is repeating it. If you truly love her and if you truly want to honor her, then surpass her. Not from ego, not from rejection, but from evolution. She gave you life, and it is your task to multiply it, not shrink it, to turn inherited pain into something new, into awareness, into transformation, into authentic life. But to do that, you must break the vow, the secret vow you made before you could even speak. The vow that says, I will not be freer than you. Break it, not with anger, with love. Say it, even if only in your heart. Mum, thank you for what you could give me, but now I will walk a different path. Not toward resentment, but toward freedom, for both of us. Because as long as you remain trapped in that hidden loyalty, you will repeat everything. Her fears, her frustrations, her way of loving, her way of not setting boundaries, her guilt, her need for approval, her sacrifice, her pain, and you will do it without even realizing it. Have you noticed how many of your choices are guided by that shadow? Maybe that's why you can't tolerate rejection. Maybe that's why you feel guilty when things go well for you. Maybe that's why you keep choosing partners who make you feel small. Not because you are weak, but because you are being loyal. But that loyalty comes at a very high cost, your life. And if you dare to face it, if you dare to look at it, something will open inside you. A strange emptiness will appear, a silence. Because for the first time, you will be separating your identity from hers. For the first time, you will be saying, I am not you, and you are not me. And for the child you once were, that will feel like abandonment. But for the adult you can become, that is birth. That is where your life truly begins. It's not about cutting someone out of your life. It's about redefining them inside you. Because whether your mother was the most loving, the coldest, the most absent, or the most overprotective, the real question is no longer about her. It's about the place you've given her inside your psyche. And if that place isn't consciously organized, it will become one of two things, an altar or a prison. You will either idealize her or enslave yourself to her. But both are distortions. And the only way to heal is to dismantle the fantasy, because that fantasy comes in many shapes. The self-sacrificing mother, the perfect mother, the tragic mother, the all-powerful mother, the victim mother. But none of those figures are real. They are myths, stories created by your mind. And those myths keep you from seeing something far more important. She was also a daughter. She also carried her own wounds. She also lived through her own traumas. She also loved in the only ways she knew how. And yes, she also failed. And you? You are not here to repeat her destiny. You are here for something greater, to transform that emotional inheritance into wisdom, to make what is unconscious conscious, to close a cycle so that your children, if you have them or will, do not carry what you are carrying now, because that is what we pass on. Not objects, not genes, not money, patterns, unresolved emotions. undigested pain, silenced traumas, the weight of the unspoken. And here's the most powerful truth. You cannot change the past, but you can change the way the past lives inside you. Do it. Not for her, for you. You don't need to sever your relationship with your mother. You need to sever the distorted archetype you are carrying inside. You need to dismantle the voice that shames you every time you shine. You need to challenge the guilt that arises every time you choose yourself. And that liberation is not an attack on her. It is a gift to you, because your original wound does not define your destiny. What defines your destiny is what you choose to do with it. So ask yourself, honestly, how much longer will you keep paying homage to a pattern that no longer serves you? How much longer will you carry a story that was never yours to begin with? The time has come to turn that inherited pain into fuel, to stop surviving and start living. And for that, you will need one thing above all else: courage. Courage to break loyalty, courage to rebuild yourself, without that old figure who either gave you everything or denied you everything. Courage to look in the mirror and say, now, I take care of me. And when you do that, when you truly choose yourself, when you free yourself, then, and only then, will you truly honor your mother. Because the greatest tribute you can offer to the one who gave you life is to fully live it. And just when you think you've let go, when you think you've finally broken that internal loyalty, something else will appear, more subtle, harder to spot, more treacherous, emotional self-abandonment. And yes, it is directly linked to the mother archetype still lingering in your shadow. Because what does a child do when they don't get the emotional care they need? They adapt, they shut down, they learn to ignore their own needs, to repress their feelings, to pretend it doesn't hurt. And that survival tactic, that becomes your way of life. Have you noticed it? How you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself inside your mind, how you demand from yourself what you would never demand from someone you love. That's no accident. It's the continuation of the same old pattern. It's the poorly integrated mother archetype still expressing itself through you abandoning yourself again, but this time from within. And here is the most brutal knot of all this. No one is hurting you now. You are the one continuing to hurt yourself in the name of an old program. Every time you deny yourself rest, every time you minimize your own pain, every time you betray your needs to avoid upsetting others, every time you tolerate the intolerable out of fear of losing love, you are repeating the same script. If I ignore myself, maybe they will love me. And what does that really mean? It means that you learn to survive by ceasing to exist emotionally. And that is a slow death, an invisible one, a silent one. You have become your own inner tyrant, the one who won't let you cry, the one who demands you be strong at all costs, the one who forces you to perform, to give, to hold it all together for everyone but yourself. And the most twisted part, the more you abandon yourself, the more you wait for someone else to come rescue you, but that will never happen, because no one can give you what you refuse to give yourself. So here is the real revolution. Start taking care of yourself the way no one ever did. Be your own internal mother. Re-educate yourself from the ground up. Learn to give yourself the affection you were denied. Learn to grant yourself permission to feel without judgment. Learn to speak to yourself with tenderness when you fall. Learn not to demand perfection when what you truly need is comfort. And yes, at first it will feel strange, because for years you've been trained to use the whip, to criticize, to be cold. But none of that is yours. It is borrowed software, a system you inherited, not because it worked, but because it was all you knew. So if you want to break the cycle, start here. Ask yourself, how would I treat a child who just went through what I went through? What would I say to them if I saw them exhausted, worn out, on the verge of breaking? Would I shame them? Would I call them weak? Or would I hold them without asking anything in return? Now realize that child is you, even now. Even if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, Even if you look like you've got it all under control, that child is still there and still waiting, but no one is coming, not in the way you imagine, because it is not about finding the perfect rescuer. It is about becoming the figure you needed. And this is not mysticism, it is deep psychology. Carl Jung said it perfectly. What is not made conscious will manifest in your life as fate. And that applies here, Kiko, with brutal clarity. If you do not make your self-abandonment conscious, you will repeat it in every relationship, in every job, in every choice. If you don't bring this into awareness, you will live from scarcity, from emotional hunger, from the constant craving to be saved. And here's the paradox, the part no one tells you. You only stop needing to be saved when you become your own refuge. Is it difficult? Of course, because no one taught you how. They taught you to compete, to perform, to prove yourself, but they never taught you how to hold space for your own inner world. They never taught you how to welcome your shadows instead of hiding them. And this brings us to one of the most forgotten pieces, the negative inner mother, that voice in your head that is not you, the one that whispers, you're not enough, you're too late, you don't deserve it, you need to do more, you shouldn't feel what you feel. That voice isn't you, but you've absorbed it, you've adopted it, as if it were your own conscience. It's not. It is an internalized figure, a distorted echo of an archetype that has taken up residence where your self-worth should live. And until you dismantle it, you will keep believing your worst enemy is yourself. And you're not. You are simply repeating what you were taught. So, how do you dismantle it? By listening. Yes, listening. Because what you resist persists, but what you observe transforms. So next time that voice shows up, don't run, don't shut it down with empty affirmations, don't cover it up with toxic positivity. Look at it, ask it, where do you come from? Who do you belong to? What old story are you repeating that isn't even mine? And you'll start to see the threads. You'll start to see where it came from. And in that moment, something will awaken. Not a mystical glow, not a sudden burst of joy, but a raw, clear knowing. You will realize you've spent years trapped in a script you never chose. And once you question it, you reclaim your power. That is the real psychological awakening. Not mantras, not gurus, not spiritual bypassing, but this. The moment you stop being the echo of your childhood and start becoming the author of your adult life. But be careful. Don't confuse this with forced positivity. It's not about denying pain. It's about taking responsibility. It's about seeing yourself clearly. It's about ending the search for someone else to fill your emptiness and learning to fill it yourself. One small, conscious action at a time. Want a place to begin? Here it is. Stop abandoning yourself when you need yourself most. When you are tired, don't push harder. Rest. When you are sad, don't judge your feelings. Sit with them. When you are afraid, don't be ashamed. Listen. That is the new language, the new way of mothering yourself, a new emotional structure, one that breaks centuries of inherited patterns. And yes, it will feel big, maybe too big, but remember this, you don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to do it differently. Because if you don't break the cycle, no one will. The change you long for is not out there. It is in every small inner choice, every moment you choose to care for yourself, even when it feels unnatural. Every boundary you set, even when your voice trembles. Every no you say, so that you can say yes to yourself. That is the real act of love. And believe it or not, that is revolutionary. In a world that teaches you to punish, to compete, to compare, choosing tenderness for yourself is radical. It is looking at your family history and saying, with me, this pattern ends. Not because you're better, not because you're stronger, but because you have decided to wake up. And once you wake up, nothing can put you back to sleep. Not guilt, not judgment, not that old voice that used to freeze you in place. Because now, you no longer walk seeking approval. You walk from within, rooted in awareness, in real love, not a love that demands, not a love that sacrifices, but a love that sustains, that respects, that protects, the kind of love you always needed and that now finally you can offer yourself. And here's the truth. That is the only inheritance worth passing on. And when you reach this point, something inside you will already have changed. You won't need anyone to validate it. You will feel it, a subtle vibration, a quiet shift, because you will have finally looked at something you spent your whole life avoiding. You will have faced the silence beneath the noise. And yes, the end of this process won't be applause. It won't be enlightenment. It will be a new silence, a clean silence, because now you have broken through the old noise. Now you understand why it was so hard to feel at peace, why you didn't know who you really were, because you were living inhabited by voices that were never yours, burdened by needs that didn't start with you, reacting from pain that was passed down through generations. But no more. What remains now is yours, your space, your voice, your life. And here's the beautiful truth. You won't live without wounds. You will live with them consciously. And that changes everything. Because wounds aren't the problem. Running from them is. Pretending they don't exist is. But when you face them, they transform. And at that crossing point, something is born. Your true emotional maturity. Not the kind that pretends to be unshakable. Not the kind that wears a mask of coldness. But the kind that holds space for both your broken part and your wise ones. For the parts that still ache and the parts that know how to hold on. That is the threshold. That is when you stop being a symbolic child of the past and become the symbolic mother or father of your present. You no longer live from what was missing. You live from what you are now able to create. And that is a rare power. One few people reach because it takes courage, radical honesty, and a wild willingness to let go of old excuses, old fears, old inherited patterns, and to begin living from within, not from the echo of an ancient story. So now that you know this, and what will you do with it? Because this is where the video ends, but where your real work begins. The invisible work, the part no one else will see, but you will feel it every day, in every choice, in every new way you treat yourself, every time you refuse to repeat the old pattern, every time you choose awareness over lack. And that, even if no one claps for it, is a freedom no one can buy for you. So I'll leave you with this one thought, a line to hold on to. When self-love is born from healed pain, it is no longer a trend. It becomes a quiet revolution. And if you've come this far, I want to know, not for me, for you. Write it below. I am the end of the pattern, because if you made it here, you are no longer the same. You have faced what most people will spend their lives avoiding. And if this shook you, if it made you think, if it stirred something inside you, subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because here, we are not here to entertain. We are here to awaken. And this journey is just beginning. So turn on the bell, and because what's coming will be painful, but it will free you. And if you're ready, go do something today that scares you a little. Speak to yourself in a way you never have. Sit in silence, cry if you need to, or simply look at yourself without judgment for 10 seconds. 10 seconds, that's enough to begin, because when you change how you treat yourself, the world changes how it meets you. And if you don't believe that, try it. But do it from that deep place where you no longer need anyone to save you. Because now, finally, you know, the one who was always meant to save you was you. Until then, may the world tremble when you start living without repeating what once broke you. See you soon, or maybe not. Maybe you'll be too busy rebuilding yourself. Either way, I'm glad you made it here. To yourself, to now.